Hi, my name is Killoran. I am the mother of 3 children that are now adults. One lives in heaven. His name is Alex Philip Killoran. He was born by C-section, and he was my middle child, a planned C-section. But he came a little early because my water broke, and I had to go to the hospital a couple days before the planned C-section. So I always said from the beginning that I thought he had his own agenda and made his own way. And throughout his life, I truly believe that, because he was stubborn, but he listened and he contemplated, and then he made his own decision, which is something that we encourage all our children to do. The first time that we realized Alex had a problem, I want to say that I actually was in denial. This is hard for me. So I always felt, being the middle child, that I had to give him a little bit more attention because of the middle child syndrome thing that they went on and on about. So I did. And because of that, I think I let some things slide. And I'm in no way blaming myself or my husband or anybody else for his death and his passing. It was an accident, but it was still his choice to use that night. I'll start by saying straight off, he smoked a joint. It was laced with heroin and cocaine. He came home. I was up. He came home and said, "Mom, I love you. Wake me up. You have school tomorrow." And he was going to college. And I said, "Okay, I love you." And he goes, "I love you too, Mom." And those are precious moments to me. Those are what I call blessings in disguise. And he went to bed, and I went to go wake him up, and the door was locked. And it's the first time I've ever said that. I was mad. I was angry because we had a no lock door policy in our house. And so I went to get the key, and I opened up the door, and he was laying on the floor. But he was in kind of like a curled up position, which he generally would be sometimes when I would knock on the door and come in, because he had lower back problems and he would stretch his back. And so he would hunch into a ball on the floor and stretch. And I thought he was doing that, but he wasn't. He had passed. At first I was in shock, and I just rubbed his back and I said everything was going to be okay, because I knew he was gone. In my mind, I knew he was gone. And in my heart, it hadn't hit yet. But my mind knew. And I was in shock, I know, because I came upstairs, and my daughter, her boyfriend at the time, his later to become her husband, had spent the night. And he slept on the trundle in her room. I don't want to say I advocate people sleeping together before marriage, but this is 2021, or 22, really. So let's not get into that. But he had spent the night, and as I passed to go to Audra's room, because my husband was at home, he went to go get gas in the car, and we were going to go out to breakfast. And so I said, "Go get the gas, and by the time you come back, I'll be ready, because I have to wake up Alex." So I walked down the hallway, and I went to go tell Audra. And to me, she's a nurse. So I thought, I'll tell her, and maybe there's something she could do that I'm wrong. And then I turned and I saw Mitch in the bathroom getting ready for work. And I said to Mitch, "Can you please go check on Alex? I think he's dead. Before I wake up Audra." And that's when I said it out loud for the first time. And Mitch ran downstairs, and I followed him. Like, I saw him rushing, so I rushed. Like I said, later to think about it, it all happened in such a slow motion for me, but it was, now looking later back on it, it was fast. And I followed him into the room, and he went to go grab his arm, and he pulled his arm, and his arm jerked back. And right away I knew he's dead. And I was angry. It was, I'm going to say I was angry. And I kind of backed up against the wall and just sat there for a second. I thought, oh my God, I am the mother of a child who's dead. My son is dead. And then my daughter came rushing into the room, pushed me away, put her back up to the wall and pushed her legs into him to roll him over, thinking that she could give him CPR or something, because Mitch had by then gone upstairs to wake her up, and she saw his face. And when she saw his face, she knew he was gone because of the way he was laying down. His face was a dark, dark red, almost purplish. His eyes were open, and you could tell immediately he was passed. And my daughter just screamed the most gut-wrenching scream you could hear from a young girl. She was 23 at the time. And my son was 26. The other son doesn't live at home. He was attending school. He was a Marine who was using his GI Bill, so he wasn't home. He lived in Arizona. And so, getting back to this, my daughter ran out of the room, and I just looked at Alex and started cleaning his face because he had vomit on his face. And that's when I knew that he had overdosed. Because I remember the signs of reading things and stories of other people. And my daughter was nowhere. I didn't know where my daughter was. I was in the room, and Mitch was putting his hand on my back, and he just was trying to reassure me, and it's okay, and small words of tenderness, but I don't remember exactly what they were. And his hand was on my shoulder, and I still was wiping away with just a t-shirt that was next to on the ground the vomit on his face and stuff, because I didn't want him to be seen like that. And I was then asked to leave the room. And I looked at this person, and I realized they were paramedics. And they said, "Ma'am, you have to leave the room. We need to examine the body." And I just looked at them, and I said, "This is my son. His name is Alex." And the gentleman said, "I'm sorry, ma'am. Would you please leave the room? We'd like to examine Alex." They were so kind and patient. And I left the room and realized I better get dressed because I was in a robe with my pajamas on still. And I came upstairs. My daughter was not crying. She was in the kitchen and she was on the phone. And I said, "Who did you call?" And she goes, "Daddy," to let him know to come straight home. Later, I found the words that she exactly had said, and it was appalling to me. But out of her mouth, they were shock. And she had said, "Daddy, you need to come home. Alex is dead." I'm not angry at her. Don't ever think that I'm not angry. I was more scared for my husband, who was driving from the gas station, that he would make it home, because those words are so impactful and horrid. But she didn't know what else to say, I'm sure, at that moment, because I didn't even know what else to say. There was already police here. A detective had walked in. Ambulance people were downstairs, the paramedics. We have a basement that's finished, and both boys, when they were in junior high, got their bedrooms downstairs because we have a small ranch, and we have an office up here for my husband, a bedroom up here, my daughter's bedroom, and then we had 2 bedrooms made downstairs. The boys wanted their privacy, which we were all for, and we wanted to give them that. We believe that all kids deserve privacy. To a point. Like we said, we didn't allow locked doors. Closed doors is fine. You want your privacy. And then we knocked. Courteous. I mean, you don't just walk in on people. Anyhow, I stood in the corner of my kitchen, this kitchen, and I stood in the corner waiting for my husband, and I seen a police officer standing at the door. One of my neighbors came by, Jim. I remember Jim standing at the door and asking the police officer what was going on. He said, "Sir, I can't tell you anything. And I saw Jim, and I just acknowledged him with a nod. And then when he seen my husband pull out in the driveway, he knew it wasn't my husband. So he knew it was something with our kids. And since we all knew that Alex had had small problems here and there in intervention before this, and was an avid pot smoker, weed, whatever you want to call it, Jim right away knew it was Alex. Walked away. Mark walked in, he had to show his identification to the police officer at the door, and just looked at me, and I said, our baby boy is gone. He's dead. We failed him. And my husband just looked at me and grabbed me, hugged me. No reaction, just pure shock on his face. And it was the first time that I started crying. And he went down the hallway and just sat in his office for a minute. And in the meanwhile, paramedics came upstairs and we were talking to the detectives, and they said, yes, he is dead. We need to call the coroner. And I just sat in this kitchen in this chair and started sobbing and crying. But I didn't cover my face. The detective was sitting at the table too, and so was Mitchell. And then Audrey came and sat back down because she was getting dressed. And it's like a blur a little bit, but I do remember talking to the detective. I remember my husband coming to sit at the table, and then I remember specifically the detective asking me questions on time frames and when he got home. And I said, this is impossible for me to believe because he just came home at, 1:45 in the morning. I was awake. I was watching a show on TV. I talked to him. I said, goodnight, I love you. And it was hitting me. I said, goodnight, I love you. And I was like, boy, I'm so lucky. Because he said, I love you back, Mom. And wake me up and everything. And I told them that he went downstairs and went to bed. And I went to bed. And I didn't know anything other than walking in the bedroom the next morning. And he said, did you move anything in the bedroom? Did you take anything from the bedroom that you didn't want us to see? Because this looks like an overdose. And I was angry at that point. Because I didn't want him to be labeled an addict. I did not want that label to be put on him. And I did not want him to be diagnosed as an overdose. So I got angry and I said to the police officer, the detective, please do not say that. Until the autopsy result shows me something, right now I'm just going to say that my son accidentally died in his sleep. And that is truly what I believed. I knew that drugs were involved. I knew something was involved. I just didn't know what. And again, I reiterated to him that no, I hadn't moved anything. No, other than the body, we had not, other than pushing him and stuff, we hadn't moved anything or taken anything from the room. Nothing. And then he asked me again, and Mitchell stepped in and said, stop asking her the same questions. And she has answered you. And he said, okay. And then he got up and he goes, we will investigate more. If there's any other questions, please give me a call. And he gave me a card and walked away. And I thought, oh my God, he's so impersonable. And he said something that really hit me too. And he goes, ma'am, this looks like a classic overdose case. This is the third house I've been to this morning. And that pissed me off. I was angry. And I know that this is an ongoing problem. It's still worse today than it's ever been. And it will soon be 10 years that my son has been gone. And still, the details and everything are like yesterday. The detective left and I was angry at him. I remember his name, I won't say it. But they leave an impression on you. And his was the wrong impression that left on me. So I didn't want to deal with him at all. The coroners came upstairs and they had said, we need to remove his body because of his position. We cannot put him on a stretcher. Do you understand this? And I said, yes. And I said, you can't move him yet until his father says goodbye to him. And the coroner says, no, I'm sorry, Mom. Ma'am, that's impossible. And I said, this is my home. It's my son. And his father is going to say goodbye. And the coroner looked at the police officer who is still here. And he nodded his head. And the coroner goes, okay, ma'am. And I took my husband's hand and I walked downstairs with him. And as we're walking to the bedroom, I said, do not remember your son this way. He died this way. But don't remember him this way. And they had since covered him up with a blanket up to his chin. His eyes were open. His face was very flush, very red, purplish almost in color. His eyes were bloodshot. His tongue was sticking out a little bit of his mouth. And my son looked awful. But that picture is not the one that stuck in my head of him. Over the years and over the first year, I crowded myself with pictures of him everywhere, of beautiful pictures, so that I could push out that memory, although it's still there. And my husband just bent down and kissed him on the forehead, and he said, "My son, what have you done?" And started crying. I haven't seen my husband cry that many times in our lifetime. When our children were born, the day we got married, he had tears in his eyes, but they never rolled down his cheeks. But when our children were born, he cried. They were healthy. They were here. When they hurt themselves, he would feel their pain and anguish. But to see him cry like that scared me. Because he's my rock. So I felt that I had to be strong too, because this man was going to fall apart. You're not supposed to have favorites. It's your kids. I can honestly say that Alex was his favorite. He was so much like him that they butted heads. He was his own man, made his own decisions, loved golf, loved movies, loved being outside, up to a point. Summertime, not so much. Used to. Used to come swimming in the pool a lot. We grew up with a pool here since they were 3, 5, and 7. Audra's the baby. Alex was the middle child. Adam is our oldest. But he was the most like his father, and in looks and mannerisms and stuff like that. He had no work ethic, which really bothered my husband, because my husband was the opposite. A very strong-willed man who knew you needed an education or you weren't going anywhere in this world. And especially the way the world was at that time, there wasn't many jobs out there. Like, there wasn't. And, you know, we didn't know how to push him without him pushing back and being angry. We never met halfway with him. We tried so many times to meet and to make him understand. And he always pushed back, always. And this is a plus in a way for many people, but it's a downfall too, because you want to meet halfway and you want to express to him and make him understand. And he would say, yes, I understand, and then walk away. And we were like, we just talked to another wall. You know, that's how we felt. Like we had been talking to a wall. And then I found out, I knew after the first 3 sentences, kids just tune you out. Literally. Tune you out. But we tried to I did, because I remembered that. I tried to get the point across to him that to get anywhere in this world, you need an education and you need to pursue something that you love so that you will enjoy it. And he was a computer nut. He was a computer geek, freak. I don't know what the hell you want to call it, but he could take a computer from scratch and build a computer to his liking. He bought a Dell computer one day and took the whole tower apart and built it to his liking with 2 hard drives. And I remember being on the computer one time and he turned my screen upside down and he had put across it, Alex loves mom, mom loves Alex, Alex loves mom, mom loves Alex. And I said, Alex, what are you doing? And he's gone, I'm showing you what I can do from my computer. Needless to say, we got a letter from Comcast, and they said, we have detected illegal activity. And right away when I read this letter, I was like, oh my God, this is Alex. And I'm going, Alex, what did you do? And he had, with a friend, broken into the school system to show his grades to his friend and wanted his friend to know. And I found out from this letter because I said, what did you do? And he goes, the only thing I can think of is da 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 da. And I said, did you change any grades? Did you do anything like that? He goes, no, Mom. I just wanted to show him that I could get into this system, that it was not protected as well as people think. And I said, like kind of like how you went into mine. And he goes, yeah, you know how I turned your screen upside down, like I could get into your system, your computer. So that's what he was doing. But he said he never used it for anything bad. And I believed him, and I had no reason not to, because his grades definitely did reflect what he was putting into the classes. So back to him. There were small signs, but I didn't see them, not till after. And many people say that. His drinking is what worried me more. He was 26, so he could drink. But I would go downstairs and he would be drinking by himself, which is a bad sign. I knew from having a brother-in-law who was alcoholic and other relatives that were alcoholics. I just knew it was bad. And at the end of the week, one week, I had gone downstairs to clean his room. He was at work. And I would just go in and start picking stuff off the floor and all the clothes and the laundry and everything like that. I never went and peeked inside drawers. I never found a reason to sneak and look for things for my kids, because there was no reason for me to do that. And I was not that kind of mom. I really trusted my kids to come to me if they had a problem and stuff. And in this case, he didn't. He wasn't the one who told us. But after that one week, to get back to that, I was cleaning his room, and there was a 6-pack of beer and 3 pints of small alcohols and big bottle of something else. And, and I came upstairs and I went into my husband's office and I put it in front of him. And I said, I think our son has a problem. And he goes, well, when you're drinking with friends and stuff like that, you tend to go through a lot of, and I'm like, I looked at him and I said, this week, Alex did not have any friends by Mark. He didn't have any friends by. This is all him. So my husband's eyes got a little big and he goes, yeah, I think we got a problem. So that's where we thought the problem lied. We knew he smoked pot. And Alex we'd be hypocrites to say that we didn't do it either when we were younger. I'm not going to say that. We did. But it didn't do anything for me. Gave me the munchies. And so I never really thought of pot as being a deadly drug. I did not pay attention to what was going on in the world as far as fentanyl and things like that. Fentanyl was not what was in Alex's joint that he smoked that night that killed him. We did get the autopsy results later. I did talk to the coroner. I had many questions. I wanted her to tell me if he had any marks on him that indicated that he had injected anything, and she said no. And she said he had healthy lungs, which is very, very much a surprise for us because he had been diagnosed as asthmatic and had an inhaler and could not run for the life of me without running out of breath. And I'm the same way. Although I've had my lungs examined and they tell me they're healthy lungs too. So anyways, we knew that he smoked pot and it was to relax him. We had taken him to, within the last 2 years of his life, we had taken him to a therapist. We had taken him to a counselor. We had taken him, he had lost his license at one point to drive because he was caught drunk driving. So like I said, we really thought the drinking was the problem. When he finally had everything in the works that he could drive again, he didn't want to. And I came straight out one day and asked him, because I was driving him to school and I was taking him to work, or his buddies would pick him up. And he said, I don't trust myself behind the wheel because I drink. And I thought that was pretty grown up of him at the time, but it was a signal that he had a deep problem with alcohol and needed help. But I didn't see it. I saw it as he's taking responsibility that he knows that he drinks too much and he doesn't want to get behind the wheel to hurt anybody. I made an excuse. The coroner's report said death due to inhalation of cannabis/heroin/cocaine. They're in that order of how much is in the system. I was told later this is what they call a snowball. I believe it was my son-in-law that told me. You smoke a joint that's laced with those two things. In my heart of hearts, I don't believe that Alex knew what he was getting, because he went to his friend's house. Let me go back a little bit. We had our first intervention in November. This was a few months before he passed away, the intervention. And this was like a last straw for me, because I had found out through my daughter, who had found out by being told from another friend, that he had tried heroin. And my mind was blown. And my daughter broke down in tears. We were out to dinner. We were out to dinner with a friend, very close friend of hers. And she just started crying. And I said, what's the matter? What's the matter? And right away I thought, what's the matter with you, girlfriend? Are you pregnant? What's going on? And everything runs through a mother's head when a daughter cries and bursts out into tears, because you think the worst case scenarios. You don't think that they're hiding something from you from your other child, which she was doing. She's, Mom, I've been holding on to this for a while, but I need to tell you something. And I said, okay, go ahead. And I was very calm, very just serene, like, I was in the moment. And I said, go ahead, tell me. And she said, a friend of mine came to me and told me that Alex tried heroin. I said, okay. And she just was like, are you okay? I go, yep. We need to go. We need to go home. So we ate whatever was left. I don't even think we ate. We just got our carry-outs. And we had a carry-out for Alex because we had invited him to dinner. And he says, I really don't want to go. I just want to stay home and watch TV. And he was upstairs watching TV. Like I said, we had been going to therapy. We had been going to counseling. He was on antidepressants. And he was also on something for nerves, which he stopped taking, which was Xanax. And it only made him sleep. And he literally came up and gave me the bottle after 2 days and said, this isn't doing anything for me. I don't want to take it. All it does is make me sleep. I said, okay, we'll go back to the doctor and we'll talk to them. And he goes, I'll do it on my own. And he was 26, so he could. He never did. And so we went back to the house. And I told my husband what's going on. And he knew. And he had said, I didn't want to tell you because I thought it would spoil your holidays. I wasn't angry with him. I was angry at myself for him thinking so little of me that I couldn't handle the news of this. We've since worked out many things since Alex has passed away. But I did get angry, and I said, you would think that my son's life is not important enough to me to ruin a holiday? Thanksgiving, Christmas. But that wasn't important. We called his brother. His brother was on the phone. We called the friend who we worked with, who was the one who told us, or told Audra, who told us. And we were all in the kitchen or the living room. And then I went downstairs and I said, Alex, could you please come upstairs? And he was all done eating his dinner. And he came up, and as he's walking into the living room, he saw all of us and he goes, this is an effing intervention. And I go, yeah, it is. You're right. Sit down. My daughter spoke first, said her piece. My son was listening. He asked if Alex felt he needed to come home. And Alex goes, I don't need your ass here. Alex really pushed against Adam because he felt in a way that he had something to live up to when it came to Adam and being a Marine and being in school full time and had a goal in life. And Alex didn't have that yet. So there was a bit of jealousy there and anger. But he loved his brother. There was many times that he would say, I'm so proud of him. And it's so weird because I can remember that summer, him being outside and actually sitting down sometimes and talking to me on the patio, deck, whatever. And then I would just be sitting in the pool with my feet, waiting in the pool, sitting on the deck, and he would come and sit by me. And it was the oddest moments, but they were precious to me. I never questioned him, ever. Never brought them up. Just would tell him, thanks for the talk. I really enjoyed your company. You know I love you, Ma. Those moments are not the ones that my family got to see. And those are the ones that get me through my darkest days. I think it's very hard for my children to understand that those moments existed because they didn't see them, but they did. And I have them. There were moments they did get to see when Alex would come home with flowers for no reason because they were going to get thrown away. He worked at a hall, the hall, and if he seen they were going to throw away some flowers that he thought were pretty, he brought them home for me and put them in a vase and put them in the middle of the table. For my birthday, he would be the last one to give me a gift. He wanted to be the last one, always. Or he wanted to be the first. Sometimes I'd wake up on the morning of my birthday and there would be a card and a gift, and it was from him. And sometimes he didn't even sign his cards. Then I knew it was from him, though. And there were other moments he would send me pictures, something that he saw that he knew I would enjoy, and would send me that picture on his phone. Talking about college. Oh, that was a nice talk. We were outside talking about college, and he goes, Mom, I think I would like to be an archaeologist. What do you think of that? And my heart opened, Wow, he's thinking about his future. This is good. And this was less than 6 months before he passed. And I said I was all for it, that I could see him being an archaeologist. He loved to discover things. And you get to travel, and that was something that he'd always wanted to do. And then he went to school and found out how many classes you had to take to get the degree to become an archaeologist, and even to be, you had to take a few classes if you just wanted to join an archaeologist on a dig, because you were in an internship type. And he was so disappointed because everything took so much time, and he was so impatient. He wanted to go now. He wanted to literally take his savings, which there wasn't much of, but he had money there, and we had money put aside too when he had left our home and tried living out on his own. When he came back home, we had said, look, you went and lived on your own, and we're telling you now that you're going to pay a little bit of room and board because you're not going to school full-time, you're not working full-time. Your sister is going to school full-time, and she is working full-time. So we never asked them for rent when they did that. But if you didn't, then you owed us some money. But that money was put away in an envelope for us to give him later. Little did he know. So there was some money there. If he had decided and could make it to get to the internship, we would give it to him and say, look, this is what was, and we had saved it, and yada, yada. We never got to that point. Because when he got home from school that day, he goes, I have to take this class and this class and this class, and I have to do this and this and this, and that's going to take me 3 years. And that's not something I want to wait, Mom. I want to do it now. And I'm like, honey, everything takes time. You have to earn their trust, and whatever degree it is or whatever classes to take to know what you're doing. It's just not a hands-on, I can learn this thing, And he did not have the patience for it. Like working on the computers. I would get a boo-boo or something I would do something on the computer and screw it up. And he would come and fix it. Then I would ask him again. He goes, don't go on the computer at all if you don't know how to fix it. If you don't know how to fix whatever you're doing wrong. Because I'm tired of fixing it for you. And then I says, okay, well, when I ask you to help me fix something, I want to jot down what you're doing. You just come over, push me out of the way, and type away, and my computer's fixed. That doesn't help me to know where the mistake was made, which is the way he ran his life. Quick, fast, get it done. It's fixed. It's done and over with. So I had said, walk me through the steps the next time that you do this, and I won't have to ask you to help me when I mess up. And so he did do that for 3 or 4 things that were on my computer that I would always mess up. I can't even, 10 years ago on a computer, I can't remember. But needless to say, he did walk me through it. He was patient enough to do it. But when I had asked him, don't you find this something that you could pursue because you are such an amazing person on a computer? And he goes, no. And I asked him why. And he said, because I want to go in there and I want to fix the problem, and it's going to be fixed. And then I'm going to come back. And then I'm going to get called back to this company because they're going to F up again. I don't want to keep going back, doing it again. Like he had said, he wanted to teach people what their problem was, but didn't have the patience to do it. And didn't want to fix a problem more than once. I fix it, leave it alone, don't F it up. And that's what he felt the world should be like. And it's not. That was his world. That was the way he ran his world. The warning signs, the signals, there were so many, yet so little, and so subtle. It's not till afterwards, and it's very true. And I hate to do that cliche that you see them afterwards, but it is true because you pish-posh and wash them away and make an excuse for them without realizing that there's signals for help, signals that need to be addressed. His drinking was the thing we thought was the problem. Literally to this day, I still believe it is. And was, because of the way he passed. He went out and smoked a joint with his friends. Nobody expects to die from smoking a joint with your friend. So of course, that next day, I gotta go back a little bit here. After the police and everybody had left the house was so quiet. And my son, who lived in Arizona at the time, I had to call. And he had just been in town 2 weeks prior and was visiting for a long weekend. Actually had spent some time with Alex and said he had saw a difference, but still felt there was a problem there. And he said, Mom, I will come home. I will come home and I will help you with him. And I said, you can't do that because we can't watch him 24 hours a day. You can't. That's not your job. He's a grown man who has problems, and we're trying to help him because we are insisting that he sees a therapist and a counselor, and he's on antidepressants. And he's feeling better about himself, and he's going out, and he's seeing people, and he's not coming home drunk. So I think we're on our path, on our way, on our road to a better Alex. That was something I said to him one time, to Alex, and he was so pissed. I regretted saying it too, after I had said it. I was driving him home from school. I was so tired that day. Didn't sleep well that night. I always stayed up to wait till Alex came home. I did it for all my kids, not just Alex. When Adam was home, I did it when Audrey was home, is home. So it wasn't just him. I stayed up. I had to. It was a motherly thing in me. I had to. So I was tired in the morning sometimes. That day I was especially tired because I had run a few errands and done some other things. And I drove him to school and I picked him up. And he said something off the cuff. Like, why are you driving so slow? I mean, it was just like something like that. I don't know the exact words. And I just looked at him and I said, I don't understand why you just don't get your license back. I don't understand why you just can't control your drinking and say, I'm going to drink 2 beers and I'm going to stop. I said, I just want you to be normal, Alex. I just want you to be like everybody else. And his face went into pure shock. And then it turned angry. And I realized what I had said. And I looked at him and we were at a light. I looked at him and I apologized right off the back. I said, I did not mean that. He goes, yes, you did. I said, my words came out wrong. My words should have been, I want you to enjoy life to its fullest. I think you're missing out by not driving. And I'm tired. You can do this. You're a grown man. He said, Mom, I can't control my drinking. Then we started driving and we're talking nonchalantly. What do you mean you can't control your drinking? He goes, Mom, I go out to drink to get drunk. That's what I drink. That's why I drink. I go, but that's not why you're supposed to drink. He goes, but that's why I drink. That was a signal. Boy, that was a big signal. And I missed it. And I didn't tell anybody. I said, Alex, You can go so many days and so many weeks without drinking. I don't want to label you an alcoholic, but when you tell me things like this, then I want to say you are. He goes, I'm not an alcoholic, Mom. I just love the feeling I feel. Letting go. Not being in control. And being at peace with it. Because he was a control freak. But that only made me angrier. And I didn't know what to say. We got back to the house and conversation ended. I still drove him to school. I still drove him to work. And it was such a big sign. And I let it go. But I still don't blame myself. You can't. If you blame yourself, for the rest of your life, you'll have regrets. And I never wanted to live that way. I raised him no different than I raised my other 2 kids. Same values, same respects, same pushing to go to college. Everything I did was the same, except Alex was given the exemption of being the middle child. And I tried to love him more and tried to make excuses because he was the middle child. I will say that. Calling Adam in Arizona to tell him his brother passed away was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. First off, I called, I didn't get an answer. And I realized it's 10 o'clock here, it's going to be 3 hours earlier there. Didn't care. Called again, didn't get an answer. So I texted 911, which is something that we did with our kids. If I text you 911, that means you have to call me. So Adam called. He was at a friend's house. Right away, he said, Mom, what's the matter? Why are you calling me this early in the morning? Angry. Upset. Ticked off. So would I be. It was 6:30, 7:30 in the morning. And he's a 9:30, 10 o'clock person. I asked him where he was. He goes, what the hell do you need to know that for? I said, I need to know where you are. And I was calm, but mad. Because I knew what I had to do. And it wasn't going to be easy, so I had to hold it together. And I said, where are you? I'm at my friend so-and-so's house. I said, I need to talk to him. He goes, Jesus Christ, Mom. Fine. And his friend was up, so he gave him the phone. Don't remember his friend's name, but God bless his heart. I said, I need you to stand by my son. Because I'm going to give him the most devastating news he's ever heard over the phone. And I don't want him to be alone. And I don't want him to be by himself. And I want him to have some support. Do you understand me? Just say yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. He said that. So he gave the phone back to Adam. I said, Adam, I'm very sorry to tell you, your brother's gone. And he came back and he said, Mom, what do you mean he's gone? He didn't come home last night? You can't find him? What do you mean gone? I said, Adam, Alex died in the middle of the night. I found him this morning. And the phone fell from his hand. I heard it drop. Give me a second. His friend got on the phone and was angry. What did you say to him? What did you say? He's crying. He's on the floor crying. He's withering in pain. I told his friend, I'm sorry to say, his brother died last night in his sleep. We don't know all the details, but we think he overdosed. We're not positive on what. He has no needle marks. We didn't find anything. Okay, I understand. I said, don't leave him alone. Please don't leave my son alone. He said, okay, I understand. So Adam got back on the phone. Mom, I want to come home. I said, your dad's getting you a ticket right now as we speak. We knew he had to come home. So he took off in his truck. Later, we found out he accidentally hit somebody, rear-ended him in the parking lot. He was so upset. But that was worked out later. Social media was big. Still is. And I knew the word would get out that my son had passed. So I went on Facebook and I posted. It is with the deepest hurt in my heart that I tell you that my son Alex Philip Killoran died in his sleep last night. Accidentally. Please give us time to be together as a family. We wanted you all to know. We know you love him. We didn't want rumors to hit you first. Details to follow. And that meant funeral plans. People started stopping by the house. This is a small house, but a big home. We knew where our kids were growing up because they were here. We had a pool table. We had a pool. The ping pong table turned from the pool table into a ping pong table. So there was constantly people here on the weekends and constantly people here swimming and constantly people here eating. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. My mother one time said, "You get no peace. What kind of house do you run?" And I said, "Mom, I can tell you honestly, I know where my children are 24 hours a day." Not all people can say that. That was important to me. And I could. Except on those nights that Alex would go out when we were unsure. Now, to get to the end. We had his funeral. I spoke at his funeral, which is so unusual and people kept pointing out. But if anybody knew my son, it was me. And all those small, special moments that we shared. And I wanted to make sure that Alex's friends were aware of the love that he felt for them. And that he was a good man. And there were things that they didn't know about him that I shared that day. I did not wear black. I wore fuchsia, which was his favorite color. He told me one day, "You look so good in that dress, Mom. That's a very pretty color." And I remembered it. And I told my daughter that morning, "I'm not wearing black." She goes, "You wear whatever you want, Mom." I did. My sister-in-law, God bless her, came to me and said, "If anything happens and you don't think you can get through what you've written, just look at me and I'll come up." She didn't have to. I paused a few times. Afterwards, we went to the hall and had the wake. He wanted to be cremated. We did have the cremation. That was the only cremation I've ever been to where I didn't realize what it was. I really didn't. But long story short, you're behind a glass window. They opened it. The actual fire, whatever you want to call it, I don't know, incinerator? Maybe so impersonal because I'm not saying the word for it. And the casket is on these rollers and they put it in and close the door and close the drapes. I'll never do it again. I was here the day he was born. I was present. I was awake. I wanted to be there the moment he left. That was important to me. To this day, it still is. Now, to get to the blessings, which some people won't understand. I didn't get that call in the middle of the night. My child's not been kidnapped and I'm wondering where he is. He lived 26 years, not 26 minutes, 26 seconds. He said, I love you, Mom. I said, I love you back. Those are my blessings. Other people might not see it that way. But if you are the mother of a child that's died, you do. You grab at those blessings. He died at home surrounded by love in his own room, where he felt comfortable, where he was loved 24/7. Angry or not, sometimes, he was always loved. I live with that. That is a blessing. My conversations, all of them blessings. The first year, hard. Second year, harder. Because it sinks in. He's really not going to be here for Christmas. He's really not going to be here for his birthday. He's not going to be here for his sister's wedding. He's not going to be here for all these special, momentous things. So yeah, the second year was the hardest because it sunk in. And then I turned it around. I started to celebrate his life. Minutes, moments. All I kept thinking was, I'm going to celebrate his life and not mourn him in death. And it helped me tremendously because I felt 26 years. It's not a long time, but it's enough for me that it held on to those 26 years. And I just pushed it into my head and into my heart, and it's there now. I got 26 years to be Alex's mom. God chose me to be Alex's mom. I have faith. It's pulled me through my darkest moments. If you have faith, hold on to it. If you don't, whatever you do, find something that you can hold on to, because when you get to your knees, you're going to need help getting back up. I am past surviving Alex's death. I am living past Alex's death. I am in no means over it. One person said that. Are you over it? Are you getting better? You don't get better. You don't get over it. You never get over it. The word I use is tolerable. It becomes tolerable. It doesn't invade my every waking moment. It's not the first thing on my mind when I wake up anymore. But he's never far from me, ever. This is my best word of advice. Take your memories, all the love, tuck it in your heart. Take that person with you wherever you go. They will never be forgotten then. When my daughter was married, he was there because he's in my heart. Every big, momentous moment, every small, tiny, little moment, he is there because I carry him with me in my heart. And in my eyes, he doesn't miss a thing. We just miss him. And I think that's the way it's supposed to be. Because I turn it around and I say, what would Alex do or want? What would I want for Alex if it was me that passed away? And I would want him to move on. I would want him to carry on. I would want him to live, not just survive, live his life. And that is what I'm doing. I'm living with the death of my son, coping, tolerating it, moving on in a way, not forgetting ever. I have my moments of grief still to this day. You've seen them just by talking about them. But carry them in your heart. Carry them. And they won't miss a thing. God bless you. I'm sorry if you are in the same boat as me. but you won't sink. Hold on. Don't let yourself sink. Find something that makes you want to hold on. And I'm going to say something to the parents of only children, only childs. You still were blessed for how many years you had with your child, as selfish as that may sound. You still need to live. Turn it around. What would you expect of your child if you died? Would you want them to give up? No. Even if it was your only child, you still are blessed with those memories. You raised them, you loved them, you did the best you could. The final decision on how they passed away was theirs. No matter how many signals you think you missed, and you know you missed, and you found out later you missed, the decision to use was theirs. Uncontrollably sometimes because their mind, being an addict, they needed it. You did not in any way kill your child. I actually felt that way sometimes, so I'm going to say it straight out that way. I felt I killed him because I missed those signs. You did not. You gave them the best of you, the most of you, the best care that you knew that you could give them. Hold on to that. That's your life preserver to keep you afloat. You will not drown. You're just in the same boat as me. And we're going to be drifting for quite a while. But we're going to make it. Yes, we're going to make it. We're going to hold on. I love my son, Alex. Every night in my prayers, I say goodnight to my son, Alex. I say his name every day. He was here. He was alive for 26 years. I'm going to say his name, even if nobody else does. That's my piece of life. God and I have a special relationship. When I say my prayers at night, I said, Dear God, hold him close to you. I know where he is. That's my peace of mind. I know where he is. In the best place he could be, with no pain, no anger, and an abundance of love. And many relatives that loved him too. And I know I'll see him again. I know. Alex Philip Killoran, born December 7th, 1985, passed away in his sleep with no pain, February 18th, 2012. Hold on to your memories. Thank you for listening. I send you love right from my heart for you and your family who are surviving, and I hope are living a very full life. Have a nice day.